Good morning. This is Officer Lee, and today I'll be reading my favorite story, A Pocket for Corduroy by Don Freeman. Late one summer afternoon, Lisa and her mother took their laundry to the laundromat. As always on such trips, Lisa carried along her toy bear, Corduroy. The laundromat was a very busy place at this hour. Now, Corduroy, you sit right here and wait for me, Lisa said. I'm going to help you with our wash. Corduroy waited patiently. Then he suddenly perked up his ears. Lisa's mother was saying, "Be sure to take everything out of your pockets, Lisa dear. You don't want your precious things to get all wet and sloppy." Pockets, said Corduroy to himself. I don't have a pocket. He slid off the chair. I must go find something to make a pocket out of, he said, and began to look around. First, he came to a pile of fancy towels and washcloths, but nothing was the right size or color. Then he saw a huge stack of colorful clothes in a laundry bag. There ought to be something in there to make a pocket out of, he said. Without hesitating, he climbed inside the bag, which was filled with pieces of wet laundry. The dampness didn't bother Corduroy in the least. This must be a cave, he said, sighing happily. I've always wanted to live in a dark, cool cave. When the time came for Lisa to fetch her bear, he was gone. Oh, Mommy, she exclaimed. Corduroy isn't here where I left him. I'm sorry, honey, I'm sorry, honey, said her mother, but the laundromat will be closing soon, and we must be getting home. Lisa was reluctant to leave without Corduroy, but her mother insisted. You can come back tomorrow, she said. I'm sure he will still be here. As they left, a young man wearing an artist's beret was taking wet laundry out of a bag, the very bag Corduroy had discovered. Before he knew it, Corduroy was being tossed together with all the sheets, shirts, shorts, and slacks. But just as the artist was shutting the door, Corduroy tumbled out onto the floor. How in the thunder did that bear ever get mixed up with all of my things? The artist wondered. Poor Corduroy was damp all over. The least I can do for him is give him his overalls a good drying, said the man thoroughly. He unbuttoned Corduroy's shoulder straps and put his overalls in the dryer. Corduroy grew dizzy as he watched the clothes spinning around, but the artist became inspired. This would make a wonderful painting, he said as he took a stretched sketch pad out of his pocket and began drawing the swirling colors. I can hardly wait to get back to my studio. Finally, the dryer stopped whirling and the man gathered up the clothes. Then he helped Corduroy put on his warm, dry overalls. All at once, the manager of the laundromat called, Closing time, everybody out. Corduroy was gently placed on top of a washing machine. I wonder who the bear belongs to, said the artist as he was leaving. Seems to me he should have his name someplace. He's too fine of a fella to be lost. As soon as the lights were turned off, Corduroy began his search again. He was surprised to see something white glowing in the dark. Maybe it's the snow, he said excitedly. I've always wanted to play in the snow. He accidentally tipped over the open lid box, and suddenly he covered with soft, slippery soap flakes. Gradually, Corduroy began to slip and slide. Oh, what fun, he said with a smile. I've always wanted to ski down a steep mountainside. He landed, paused first in an empty laundry basket. This must be a cage, he said, peeking through the bars. I've never wanted to live inside of a cage like a bear in a zoo. But by now, Corduroy felt drowsy, and soon he nodded off to sleep. Next morning, when the manager came to open the door of the laundromat, there was Lisa waiting. I left something here yesterday, She explained, excuse me. May I look around? Certainly, said the manager. My customers are always leaving things, he said. Lisa was searching under the chairs and in back of the washing machine when she heard the manager call her. Is this what you're looking for, senorita? Yes, yes. He is my best friend, shouted Lisa as she came running. She reached in and picked Corduroy out of the basket. So this is where you have been, you little rascal, she said. It's time I take you home. Lisa thanked the manager and ran out of the door and down the street, holding Corduroy tightly in her arms. I thought I told you to wait for me, she said. Why did you wander away? I went looking for a pocket, Corduroy said. Oh, Corduroy, why didn't you tell me you wanted a pocket? Asked Lisa, giving him an affectionate squeeze. That very morning, Lisa sewed a pocket on Corduroy's overalls. And here is a card I made with your name on it for you to keep tucked inside, she said. I've always wanted a purple pocket with my name tucked inside, said Corduroy. And he and Lisa snuggled noses. The end.
Thank you, Officer Lee, for that great reading of A Pocket for Corduroy. One of my favorite stories as well. We have some ideas for you to help keep the fun of the story going for your child. A good thing to do is to always ask a few questions at the end. You might ask them, what was the story about? You could ask them to name their favorite character. Where did the story take place? What did you like about the story? How did the story end? Talking about the story and asking these kinds of questions is great because it helps them to think through things, it helps them remember it better, and it gives them good practice for comprehension skills that they'll need when they go to school. Another fun thing to do when you read a book is to add a little craft to help them remember the story and the fun you had listening to it together. A very simple thing you can do for a pocket for corduroy is make your own pocket. Depending on the age of your child and how good they are with scissors, you can either have them cut out a pocket, or you could do that part for them. I will cut it out. Just make a very simple U shape at the top of a page of paper and cut it out. We'll do that right here. So now we have a pocket, and we can glue it on a piece of paper. If you have a glue stick, you can do that. Glue sticks are a lot less messy than bottled glue, but that's up to you, whatever you have handy. You can just glue around the edge of the bottom and leave the top open and put that on your paper. So now we have a pocket, and the next thing you can do is you could pretend to sew the pocket. You could do that with a crayon, and you could make little stitches along all the edge of your pocket to look like it's sewn on. It's good fine motor practice for their little hands. They can pretend they're sewing on the pocket, and you could do that all the way around till you get to the end. Oops, my pocket fell off. Need better glue. So after that part's done, you could give them the crayons or markers, and they could decorate the pocket any way they like. And if you remember the story, Corduroy needed his name in the pocket. So another thing you could do is cut a little rectangle to put inside the pocket, and you could put your child's name on it. Let's say their name is Lisa. You could do that. Then we can just stick it right in the pocket so they won't get lost. If somebody finds them, they'll know who they are. So that might just be a fun thing to do with your child after you listen to this great story that Officer Lee shared with us called A Pocket for Corduroy. Come back to this anytime you like. Hopefully we'll be having more stories for you to enjoy this summer. Take care.
Cats call.